Welcome. Welcome to the Wrong Kind of Music Podcast. We're back again. We're going to be talking about everything that happened in February of 2023. Joined with me today is our usual squad. So Mark, Claire, Phil, myself. We'll be covering the usual gigs that happened, a couple of releases, what we're looking forward to next month, and we might have a wee bit of a debate around merch prices, which I'm sure everyone is aware of the current discourse, especially if you're on Twitter and all that shite. But we'll start off with gigs. Metal to the Masses has kicked off. We've had 3 rounds so far already. It feels like, fuck, we're pretty deep into this already.
It feels like one of 3.
Halfway through the initial rounds. And this is the first we've got sitting down to talk about it. I don't want to go right into it the way we used to, the way we talk about every single band, because we've only got so much time and we don't want to bore the absolute cunt off people. So let's just talk about those 3 rounds in terms of which bands stood out, which ones gave memorable performances, and which ones, I don't know, if you have any points you want to talk about. I don't mind kicking off. Band seen just a couple of nights ago in round 3 that came out of nowhere as far as I'm concerned. It was their first gig and I thought they were absolutely fucking savage, and that was The Boat That Sank.
The boat sank.
The boat sank.
The boat sank.
I keep making the same mistake. Yeah, like it's the boat sank.
But this is not going to be another victim royale. Yeah, The Boat Sank. I am not normally a fan of instrumental metal. I like vocals. In fact, vocals tend to be the make or break of a band for me.
The focal point, you could
Absolutely,
say.
I mean, the focal point, fuck's sake, Mark. But yeah, their drummer to me was just fucking immense. Like, big dude, obviously works out, and he knocked the absolute balls out of the drums, and to me it was just an absolute pleasure to stand and watch that. Utterly powerful. And I would honestly, I don't mean to detract from what the rest of the band were doing, because I really like the guy on bass as well. Like a real sort of metallic, twangy sound to his bass.
His tone was insane.
To the point where it felt to me like the bass was almost more important than the guitars. I don't know if that was intentional. That's the way it came across to me. But I thought they were absolutely fantastic, especially for the first gig together.
I think when he said it was their first gig, I think out loud I said bullshit. You know, they were so good.
Carl Pilkington style.
but yeah, the bass tone, as soon as it started, I just felt it, and I was like, oh my god, this is like one of the best bass tones I've ever heard in my life. And I think, in terms of that focal point joke, it's when you don't have vocals, you don't have a center point. It's like the music itself just kind of washes over you, and there's different like layers that go through it and stuff. But yeah, they were amazing. They flowed me, so they did absolutely.
I was absolutely gobsmacked by them, and I was like, I had listened to them before and was like, yeah, they're going to be on my avenue. I'm gonna enjoy that, and then I absolutely did. I think there's a little bit there. I think the wee bit of work maybe just in the intricacies between the guitar and the bass, just sort of maybe to try and get a bit more clarity to that melody that's there. But fuck me, did he play the shit out of those drums? I mean, everything was moving. Like he was doing like a round the world tour of like that drum kit. It was ridiculous. And I think it's absolutely like he's I believe he's a drum teacher, and actually another band that probably Snake Neighborhood sort of up and comers there. He is, I believe, is the drum teacher for the drummer in that band, and who was also pretty fucking good. Really good, and like that, so you can sort of Snake Neighborhood with a wee bit of new metal thrown in there. Fuck, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I had fun that time.
With the Boat Sank, if I owned those drums, I would literally have been sitting on the internet ordering new drums, going, I guess they're fucked. Yeah, but good segue onto Snake Neighborhood. How would you describe them? Bunch of mad cunts having a laugh on stage, I think is the closest you get. There's nothing serious to be taken from it whatsoever. They rocked up on stage with a flag with a big ganja leaf on it. It was like, if you like smoking weed, we're the band for you. One of the guys come on the stage on a what would you call it? A little scooter.
Yeah.
Little tiny scooter. Had a stupid hat with wangly gangly things.
It looked like they raided my granny's wardrobe from the 80s.
It was crystal clear. They were like, let's do something wacky. We'll go down to like the local thrift store and just buy a load of shit clothes and look like dickheads on stage. Like, it was what it was. I didn't think it wasn't great, but I don't think it was trying to be great. I think it was just a fun. We're just trying to have a bit of a laugh here.
I think they're a young band, like obviously very young. And I think someone had said they'd started off as a cover band, and now they're starting to move in and write. There was a couple of their own songs and stuff, and I think I liked what I saw. I had fun, and I think that's a band to watch. I think they're still obviously trying to figure out what their thing is.
I would say so, yeah, because even their covers to me was like, whenever I seen one of them, seemed to have like the Wes Borland style face makeup done, and like I was standing there going, if these guys don't do a cover of
Limp Bizkit,
yeah, I'd be very honestly surprised. But they were doing Limp Bizkit, but they were also doing Alice in Chains, which to me, as far as like musical integrity, for want of a better phrase, are at opposite ends of the spectrum.
On the plus side,
but it sounded, when they done Alice in Chains, it sounded like Alice in Chains being played by a new metal band. The whole thing was kind of odd and bizarre.
I mean, definitely performed that song better than I have seen Limp Bizkit perform it recently. Well, it probably isn't hard.
The bar's pretty low for Limp Bizkit.
But in the past we've criticised bands for coming in and doing covers. And I mean, in the past there were rules that you couldn't do any covers, and I think that because we criticised Mortal Backlash about it. Like, to be fair, yeah, I think maybe at this stage one cover's fine. They played 3 or 4 maybe, and that's too many.
It felt like someone didn't get the memo.
Yeah,
but
I enjoyed it. Like, I have to say, I had good fun at it. The whole point of these things is you get entertained, and I was entertained. I had a good time.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I actually thought, like, whenever I see them come on with a scooter thing and this silly haircut, and I think he had, was it "fuck you" written across his face or something? I actually thought the level of wackiness on stage kind of came down a bit. I don't think he quite lived up to his persona that he built up. I'm glad he did.
Honestly, whenever I got on stage, I was like, oh no, this is so cringy. I think it's just, I'm old and look at it, it's like, oh, it's like young edgelord sort of thing. And then it was better on stage than what I originally thought I was going to kill it, but I didn't. And I was as soon as they started, it was like, the sound that has just appeared on stage is not what I was expecting to hear.
No, I get what you mean. There was, whenever you're presented with something like that, there's a wee part of you, or a wee part of me at least, that kind of goes, oh no. And in a certain way, they did. They won me over. It's just that we've said 100 times on this, if a band's having fun, rubs off in the crowd. Unfortunately, they didn't go through. That's not really a surprise, I don't think. Who else were they up against that night?
Terrace got through.
And Red Mountain Radio. And who else was on the bill?
The fourth band on that bill, I cannot remember. Right? Oh, So Long Until It Ends. Yeah. Red Mountain Radio, I thought the band sounded incredible. I really, really liked what they played. Their presentation on stage, I wasn't overly fussed on. The lead singer, the front man, seemed to have this sort of, it reminded me of, you know those really, really good vocalists that got into drugs and just jumped the shark and became completely awful. The one that jumps to mind is Scott Weiland. Like, he had so many like really, really bad performances. It felt to me like he was trying to copy that, and it's like, if you're going to copy Scott Weiland, copy good Scott Weiland, And it was just the mannerisms and stuff of, like, avoiding the crowd and stuff, and it didn't feel like it felt like an act to me. It didn't felt sincere or genuine. So that to me was kind of like, I was a wee bit put off by that, but the band themselves, the music they played, thought was absolutely great. Really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I agree. The music was good. Everyone that was playing well, but I felt there was a bit of a discord between him and the other three.
Yeah.
You know, and again, I was a bit surprised they got through, but I only saw 2 bands that night because I was at another gig, you know, so I came over. But yeah, the music itself was really good. I did enjoy that.
Yeah.
I think a discord between, I'm about to jump. I was going to say the discord between the band was sort of highlighted in Terrace as well, who got through. I think that's quite an interesting wee band. I mean, I think you said they've emerged from another band. They started off and then she's joined later. And I think there was a very clear distinction between what had been written before she's joined and what is joined after. And I think they need to listen to her. She said on stage she got them to wear the makeup. Right. I really liked that. But then the outfits weren't. You had your guy that looked like he was off the Manchester scene, was like wee coat and all on, and then you've your guy, and then and I get the feeling she's pushing for.
They feel like a band in transition.
Yeah, exactly.
And if they are, I think they're transitioning in the right direction.
The songs that they let her, like, you can tell have been written, like, see in the end, like by the time when she was being a front person, I thought they were stunning, and I think they need to build a band around that.
They had a sort of a hard rock metal sound to them, but I thought there was like the remnants of, it's Britpop.
I thought Manchester kind of
that Manchester sort of direction. There was a feeling of that was kind of like, it felt like it was left over from something. I don't know if maybe they're trying to push in a certain direction, but they only have so many songs, so they had to dig back into the archive in order to fill a half-hour set. I don't know. But they'd be a band I would definitely watch in the future. Really good. They engaged with the crowd. There was a lot of eye contact. You see a lot of people, you know, playing guitar and they spend the whole time just looking at the neck of their guitars. And from them, there was a lot of like playing to the crowd, and I really like that. I thought there was good confidence on stage with them. Enjoyed them.
Yeah, it was definitely like a sort of a what I quite liked. There was a hint of madness in the sort of the eyes, if you know what I mean, and the sort of, which I think is the sign of somebody who's, you know, a competent front person. I thought her voice was incredible. I kind of, one criticism I will have is that I think you should let your best singer sing more often. If you know what I mean. I think, you know, her vocals are so strong that you know, they should be, you know, as front and center as you can kind of make them at any opportunity you've got to do that. You know, so that was a good performance from them, and you know, actually I was reasonably happy to see them go through. I think then, just, you know, even back on Red Mountain radio, I got really pissed off. I got extremely pissed off by that performance. Again, what you sort of said there was the music was good, and I was like, yeah, this is musically really, really good. But I was completely turned off by that front man. I just went, I've had enough of this. This is completely ruined this for me. I don't know. I think he was he seemed like he was completely steaming. There was an attitude of disdain toward the crowd, as if, you know, I'm doing you a favour by being up here. And whenever he did sing, it was mostly forgettable and shite. And to be honest, because, like, you know, if you're blocked, you know, and you're going to try and, you know, deliver this, well, you know, you're not going to be able to. The positive note was, I think the harmonica was nice.
Yes.
But to be honest with you, like that attitude that he went up there with, I don't want to say you've got to be somebody to pull that off, you know, but you're nobody to begin with, almost, you know what I mean?
I do get what you're saying. Yeah. I didn't feel that was him though. I felt that was like an on-stage persona. But we don't know for sure, so yeah. Metal to the Masses, anyone else kind of jump out? There was one that I missed the second heat.
I missed as well.
It was only 3 bands played that.
Grave Path one. Grave Path, Citizens, and I can't remember who else. Dynasty were on. Yeah, they were really good actually. Like I was really, I think I'd seen Dynasty in twice within a week, and they're just a good fun band, and they're like, do you know, it's against these terrifying young people that go up there and are really bloody good at what they do, you know. You know, I think they could be a little bit tighter in places, but they're fucking up there having a good time. And yeah, I thought it was a good heat, that one actually. 3 really good bands, and unfortunately Dynasty didn't get through that evening. And I think you know, going and talking then about, you know, Grave Path putting on a great performance, and Citizens also, like a couple of new members in there too, and you know, they've made some changes, and actually they've really worked out well for the band. You know.
Sweet. So who are the 6 bands that have gone through then? I believe it is Terrace, Red, Mountain Radio,
Yeah.
Citizens, Grave Path,
Boat sank.
The Boat Sank,
And Acid Age as well.
and Acid Age. Yeah,
They were really good on Friday.
Acid Age. Yeah, I really enjoyed them on Friday night. Really enjoyed them. It felt like a no fucking about set from
Yeah.
Acid Age.
Yeah.
There was very little talking from Jude compared to other times I've seen them. They just rattled it out, and they played a new song called was it Third Eye Salesman? It was Third Eye something.
Locksmith.
Third Eye Locksmith. That's the one. Yeah, I really like that. Again, it was. I think it had a wee bit less of that Acid Age.
Funk, jazz, funk.
Yeah,
it was more straight up thrash as fuck.
Yeah,
Yeah, like some of those riffs are straight out of the 80s, basically.
and I really quite like that. Thought they put on a great show. Definitely.
They were phenomenal at their 10-year anniversary show
Of
as well.
those 6 bands, do you think there's any potential winners, or is there any of those bands that you can kind of like see in your head just playing Bloodstock?
I can kind of see, to be honest with you, I think Grave Path are a band that can definitely be up there. But just, I think anybody confronted, I think it's all about whenever you get in front of Simon Hall, and I think anybody confronted with a flipping performance that the Boat Sank played, and that drum performance specifically, I think anybody watching that and going, I want to entertain people in a crowd, that have, in the tent, playing the absolute, balls off a set of drums is going to hold your attention.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
I kind of think that they have a flipping decent chance if they get to the final and get in front of Simon Hall, that playing the absolute shite out of those drums is a winner in my eyes.
I was honestly like 2 minutes into their set, I was like, you could just lift that, put it in the New Blood stage, and it would work. It would really work. I think Bloodstock crowd would lap that up.
Yeah,
And I think because it's all instrumental as well, it's something slightly different.
Yeah.
While still, just bashing over the head with how good they are.
Yeah.
I don't know how you could add vocals to that. Like,
No.
I don't think you could. Do you know, if you wanted to add vocals to that, where would you put them? Because there's no room for them. Do you know?
There's enough going on.
It's like, I imagine it would be a fucking nightmare trying to write vocals for that, because there's time signature changes all over the place. Like, it is really quite intricate music. I think it would be a killer to try and write vocals for.
And I mean, there's no way he'd be able to do what he's doing on drums and sing as well. And the other two, there was no microphones near them, so they're good without vocals, I suppose.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah.
With a big gig this month, we don't seem to be getting a whole lot of them at the minute, but we got Gojira coming through town with Employed to Serve and
Alien Weaponry.
Alien Weaponry. I was flying just in from London. My flight got in at 7 o'clock. Doors were at 7 o'clock. So I made it just in time to catch the last song by Employed to Serve and then sing the rest of the gig. What'd you think?
Brilliant night.
Loved it.
Really enjoyed it. That was the one with our last one from pre-COVID times.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
waited a while for it. Employed to Serve, seen them a few times before. Think they're a band that's constantly evolving and have maybe been struggling to find their kind of actual style or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they've kind of got there. I really enjoyed it. There's some of the songs they played that I hadn't been too keen on the new album, but live worked a lot better.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
Alien Weaponry I hadn't caught before, and I get a bit nervous about those bands that they've a lot of hype because they're young, and then when you're catching them a few years later, it's like, well, are they just going to be a normal generic band? But no, brilliant. The energy they brought was fantastic. Really enjoyed them. And then Gojira is just Gojira, brings the noise, and the not having the backdrop, just playing with that Ulster Hall background was beautiful. Just fantastic night.
Employed to Serve, as I say, I only caught the last song, but they didn't seem to have a whole lot of energy about them. I didn't think. I sometimes feel that, first band on, they're there and they kind of need to make an impression, and they're going on tour with these bigger bands in order to go out and impress people. We've got this opportunity. I felt like they were a wee bit lackluster on stage. And as I say, I only caught that one song.
I think they did get everyone going, like
Oh
almost
no, the
immediately.
crowd were going nuts.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
but then
I came in and I pushed my way to the front. There was a big pit open, and
Yeah.
it was just like, good to see, lads, good to see you. But no, I mean, in terms of the bands on stage, just
well,
they
from what I
seemed
can
entirely
recall,
sold on
she, the vocalist, I don't know her name or nothing, but she was, all over the stage.
Yeah.
And I
Uh-huh.
remember, I think it might have been the
Okay.
bassist at the right hand side,
it. Yeah,
was just headbanging away and,
Yeah.
loving life and
I
stuff.
must have
But
just missed it.
I think it's
Possibly.
just the last song because he takes the lead more than the vocals, so I think she steps back a wee bit.
Yeah,
Whereas I think there was more of a performance earlier that you just didn't see.
Yeah, I was waiting to see them. I've been a fan for a number of years, and just I was waiting to see them. I thought they were great. Like they were great, and I think her vocals live, Justine Jones, I think she's phenomenal. Like delivering those, and they sound better live than they do on the track. So I was really really happy to see them, and then I think Alien Weaponry then coming out doing the haka and stuff as well. I think there's a bit of that, but I'd love to see all of them to come out and do it. All three of them come out and just actually do a haka in the middle of the stage.
I get it.
Do you know? Like, I mean, if that's kind of half their shtick, but come out and do it, all of yous. But fuck, they were heavy.
I did have a wee bit of giggle about that because whenever we seen Trivium
Oh,
on the
yeah,
Ulster
yeah.
Hall earlier in the year, Matt Heafy had his tongue sticking out for half the set.
it's just glued to his chin.
And then we see Liam Weaponry, and this guy comes out on stage, and it's just the tongue's just constantly out, and I'm like, well, what is it about metal?
I wonder if it's in like Ulster Hall's
Give us tongue.
Matt Heafy's tongue got more stage time than Malevolence.
I quite enjoyed Alien Weaponry. I enjoyed that sort of I don't know if I'm using the right terms here, but like that Polynesian influence combined with metal and stuff.
Bit of a
Thought it
groove
worked
to it.
really well. There is definitely a groove to it. It reminds me of that sort of whenever Soulfly were big and Machine Head were popular, that sort of whole groove metal movement from, when was that, late 90s? That would have been, wouldn't it? Yeah. The only thing, I just thought there was a couple of wee bits where there was like snaps where it would pull out and come back in again, and it wasn't quite as explosive as I thought it could have been. I thought there was bits where there was a chance for them to really sort of blow you away, and it just didn't quite land. Don't know if it was the sound, don't know if it was the songs, but I remember as we moved on and Gojira played, there was bits like that, and I was kind of thinking that's what Alien Weaponry needed. Some of those, I know that like there's metalcore bands and they'll use like sample pads for big bass drops and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think something like that would have actually really worked for them really well. Or alternatively, kind of going in the opposite direction, something like Heilung had, where you've got like those big
kettle drum.
yeah,
job.
something like that to give it a big sort of boomy sound to,
Like a big
but I
reference.
did enjoy them, and as you say, Claire, I totally agree with that point where when you start raving about a band just because they're young, well, what happens in 5 years' time because they're not young anymore?
Yeah.
They need to be good. Yeah, they need to be really fucking good. You can't just be, oh, they're good for their age. You have to be good.
I think there was one band that were like that. They were like, pegged to be the next big thrash band. They're so young, everything, and they just disappeared. I think it was Black Tide, maybe like a decade ago or something.
Right, okay.
They played Sonosphere the year that the Big Four were playing it, and they were amazing. And then I think they just completely disappeared.
There must be something, I don't know if I would have wanted to go like turn the world at the age of 16. That would be incredibly overwhelming. That might put you off ever wanting to do something like that.
Maybe as a lot of them when they're young, and then you start touring, and then you start getting alcohol and all that stuff, and maybe
Yeah,
just
that
can't
too.
handle the actual.
Or finding out at a very early age that your gigs are pulling in thousands and thousands of pounds and you're walking away with 40 quid. What the fuck's happening here? Fuck the music industry, I'm out. It's hard to tell, but don't know. But
Speaking of, so how about those t-shirts?
yes, how about those fucking t-shirts right now? I've went on a wee bit of a crusade about this on Twitter. I hate getting dragged into these arguments,
You love it.
but
You love it.
I just can't fucking help it. It was, everyone has honed in on £40 for a t-shirt, right? And I think that doesn't paint the whole picture, right? Because they were also charging £50 for a single drumstick. They were charging £100 for a drum skin that was signed.
I think it might have been closer to 200 for the
Was
signed
it?
ones. Possibly, I can't remember.
merch prices were ridiculous. So
Is a
I
patch
took
like
a
a
photo
tenner
of it.
or
It's like
something?
tenner for a patch, £25 for a beanie, if I remember correctly.
80 for a hoodie, I think it
Yeah,
was.
and it's kind of it's raised this whole conversation about merch prices in general, and then that has kind of led into criticisms of venues, and I think it is venues, not promoters, but venues that are taking a cut of merch. I've heard people throw figures about, but I think a lot of it's speculation. But one of it I did see, and I don't think you can say this is speculation, it was Alex from Malevolence played in Milan
Yeah.
recently.
40%.
They said the venue was taking 40%
Yeah.
cut of merch. Now, within this whole discourse, if you follow it on Twitter and social media and whatnot, there seems to be two sides to the argument. There's people that are going, it's the venue are ripping the piss, and that's why merch prices are really expensive, right? And then there's other people going, no, it's the bands are being greedy and stuff. I don't think those things are at odds with each other. I think it might be a combination of the two, on top of, well, everything's fucking expensive these days, you know. But what do you guys think? Do you think £40 for a t-shirt? Do you think under current circumstances that's justified, or is that no?
Well, I played myself because I got an employed to serve t-shirt, and I'm annoyed at myself for being stupid because the way they were set out, there was the t-shirt and there was the back print with the tour dates on it, and I ordered a t-shirt presuming that the tour dates were on it, and I paid £30 for the sport band, and it was only later I went to show you and I held it up and it was like, there's nothing on the back of this.
No print in the back.
And then I went to go back out and go, excuse me, and they were gone. And I went onto the website and the same t-shirt was there for £15. And it's like, so I paid double the price and didn't get my tour, and that stung a bit.
Like, I'm all for supporting bands. Like, there's so many bands that have come through Belfast, and I've been like, they've been the undercard, and it's kind of like, they're probably not getting paid a whole lot of money for this. In fact, I know that there's bands that have paid to go on tour with other bands. And so you kind of go, you'll support them. You go out of your way, you'll buy a t-shirt to these guys. But not when it comes to, if you're mugging yourself, like, the bands are charities.
Being better,
you know?
it probably banned it off their website. They probably have got more out of it.
Yeah. So the venues that are asking for these big cuts won't be getting it.
I can understand certain venues like the Odyssey taking a cut if the venue are actually running the merch sales. So if they've got an area and they've got staffing and the staff are running all that, I get them taking a cut because then it means the band can go off and do other stuff. But the Ulster Hall, like Justine sold me the t-shirt. The bands were doing it themselves. Now I don't know, maybe Gauchera, maybe they had Ulster Hall staff there. I don't know if they did or not. Malevolence for sale. So
it's probably their own roadies, like
yeah, I that's where I don't think I have issues with the venue taking cuts then. I don't.
You see, I personally don't have an issue with the venue taking a cut.
Just not that big.
Right? But it shouldn't be no other that big. And the way I see it is, for example, say I wanted to sell my photography. I got prints done and I wanted to sell them in a shop in town. There's no way any shop is going to go, yeah, sure, bring your prints down and sell them for £40 on my property and you'll get £40 of the money.
Yeah.
It's never going to happen, you know? But if they were saying, like, you know, come down and sell them for £40, we want half of that, you'd be like, get fucked, you know? There's a balance to be struck, and the only guaranteed percentage I've seen is this 40% for the Milan venue, and there's no balance there, you know? What choice do the bands have but to jack up their merch prices, or to just not sell merch,
or hire those Italian bootleggers?
Hire the Italian bootleggers, yeah. I've seen other bands, like I was in London recently and Paramore in a little pop-up shop, so I know that, but I think again that's expensive.
Did Orange Goblin do that or something as well? As in, if you want to buy our merch, go to the pub across the road.
Orange Goblin done that at Desert Fest one year.
Yeah.
Yep. When we were at Hammerfest one year, now Hammerfest are notorious for a lot of things that we won't go into. But not exactly a preferred promoter at the minute. But yeah, we were at Hammerfest and there was guys on stage saying, if you want to buy a t-shirt, come meet us outside. around the back.
Oh, it
of
was
the
so
van.
creepy. We went. I'd been drinking. It was DEFCON 1, and we were going back to their van to get merch, and it was going through a really dark car park. And I went, "Hey, you're lucky we're not crazy fans." And the atmosphere just changed, and everyone just took a step away from me. And it was like that wasn't as funny as I thought it was.
But I
gonna be.
believe they were. I think back then I
40%
seem
or
to remember. I seem to remember it being 25% or something like that. They wanted 25% of merch sales, and back then people were like, "No, that's taking the piss." It almost seems to be what was taking the piss 10 years ago has now become
The standard.
The
I remember Anto running around with the box after,
yeah.
with trying to sell us and
So,
stuff before anyone would spot him and yell at him.
And then, I mean, some of the other things I've seen online, there's lots of people, and I don't just mean like crazy Twitter cunts. I mean, credible people that are in bands saying that bands should go on strike to put an end to this. I've seen one of the excuses for the Gojira t-shirts was that Gojira print all their stuff on sustainable and ethical merch. So it was like, if that's the case, that should be advertised. They should be boasting about that and telling you that. And I went online and I went through their merch store and looked up. They don't use Giljan.
Yeah.
Whenever I seen that, I was like, oh, maybe there's a bit of truth to this. So they use, I can't remember, it's like Tortax or something like that. So I went to their website and they've got a big page, 5 reasons you should buy from Tortax. And none of them had anything to do with, you know,
Because I've seen that
being
before.
sustainable or
I can't
anything.
remember, some
So-
Irish band, I think it was, and they had a wee sign saying, "Yes, we know that our t-shirts are dearer than standard, but you know we have bought them from a ethically sourced company,
yeah.
and that's they're better quality, so you get what you pay for."
So
and I am
Well, here,
fine
right
with
enough,
that.
actually. This. I mean, I got
Might
this
be
at the
better, yeah.
Malevolent show when they did Limelight with Baylor supporting.
Mm-hmm.
I paid for it. It was standard price. It wasn't until I got home that I saw the label and it said like no sweat, and it's like it does not support sweatshops.
Yep.
But it was
Yep.
standard price again. So
Yeah.
like there's ways to do it. Where you're not charging double or whatever.
I mean, even if you look at t-shirts, I've seen bands getting stuff from Pins and Knuckles, which is like kind of the premium metal t-shirt printer type guys in the UK. And there's bands, I'm talking local bands now, but they're getting long sleeve t-shirts, prints on maybe one arm, sometimes two, with a front print, and they're still managing to sell them for somewhere between £20 and £25. So I totally disagree with the venues taking such a massive merch cut, but I don't think that is the end of the story. I do think there's a wee bit of taking the piss with these prices on some of the tours.
Similar to the whole Ticketmaster, where Ticketmaster we'll be the bad guys, but it's so that really the bands can charge the extra without
Yeah.
being seen negatively.
Yeah, it unfortunately that merch discussion takes away from the actual gig itself.
Exactly.
Do you know, like
Yeah.
it was all anybody was like during the gig, and those conversations between sets. Everybody's like, "Fuck, have you seen the price of that?" And you're like, "Right, Jesus, that's a bit much, isn't it?" And where I'm sort of going from the point of view of, holy fuck, Gojira were unbelievable and the heaviest band on the planet.
They
But-
were fucking superb, like.
But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the merch. Do you know? It's like the show that they put on, a fucking drum clinic from Mario, and like just effectively just the heaviest fucking band on the planet. There's I don't think
Yeah.
there's anybody heavier. It doesn't matter about tunings, whatever. They are just so fucking heavy.
Set list wise, because Gojira for me are actually a band that have a lot in common with Mastodon. I got into Mastodon quite late on. I got into Mastodon off the back of the Hunter. And then the same with Gojira. I didn't really get into Gojira until, and my memory fails me again, it's not the last album, it's the one before that, was Silvera and Stranded.
Magma.
Yeah. So I got into Gojira off the back of Magma. I know that a lot of people weren't overly fussed on the last album, but I fucking loved that. And they played a good few tunes off both those albums. They played Silvera and Stranded.
Yeah.
And that was me more than happy. Like, I thought it was
So much.
really, really good. Fantastic show.
It was and there's something there, like there's something to be said. I about these big events, these big events that bring everyone sort of together. You know, you go to those gigs and you see fucking people you haven't seen in months and years, and you know, there's a bit of a good, you know, community spirit there, you know. And then but you're like, if 1% of these people came to local gigs, we'd have we'd have a killer fucking, well, we do have a killer scene, to be quite honest, but you know, we'd have like such a stronger scene if 1% of those people would come.
Whenever I first got into the local scene, that was one of my biggest bugbears, like going to see Metallica and saying like a packed out Odyssey 2 nights in a row, and it's like, if it's all like metal, why aren't you in the limelight on a Saturday afternoon? And it's something I don't even think about anymore, because it just,
it's the best though when you see them on Facebook going, oh, there's no local scene, and that's when you want to reach through the phone and just punch them.
I've had those conversations. I've sat down with people that don't know how many times. I mean, I'm not even a promoter, so it's not even in my interest per se, but you know, how do we get those people from the arena into the limelight and stuff, you know? And I used to talk about these ideas of when there's a big gig on, put a small gig on afterwards and make it free in if you show your Metallica ticket. And at the end of the day, it's just a case of life that some people like big famous bands, and other
some people just can't. They've got kids, they don't get babysitters
So
that
they go
often,
out.
or they're working, so you know, they only get to go to 2 or 3 gigs a year, and it's, of course, they're going to go to the big shows.
But I had a mate that says he doesn't go to small shows because he doesn't know the songs. It's like, well, if you go to the gigs,
You'll know the songs.
you'll learn the songs.
I mean, these days as well, you know, people are putting out albums that are like, you know, well produced, and you know, you can spend time with the album, you know, as well.
So there was that recent thing, some radio presenter somewhere said that he doesn't play unsigned bands because they're all shite, and it's just like, that's not true
That's just
at all.
Chris Moyles trying to get
Is that who it was,
controversy.
yeah?
Like, he just loves the attention, and like, he
Just
got
a
it
bit of
because he
twat
hasn't been relevant for a very long time, and that got his name back in the headlines.
He's just a twat. Twat being a twat, like, you know.
Although I suppose he always would, you know, like, he played pop music, and you know, he's only ever going to play that stuff that's getting radio air.
It's like, I imagine he's the sort of person that plays for radios where he's told what to play anyway.
Most likely,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? He's
He was more radio DJ personality than the music.
yeah.
But your A list and your B list, you know, these are the songs that you can pick from. This is what you can play. Like, I mean, you know, unless you're out actively listening to new stuff, what's the point?
So there was a bunch of gigs I missed because I got COVID for the 4th back in time.
And then you give it to me.
And then
Thanks
I
for
gave it
that.
to you. Well, Sharon's current. You know,
Yeah,
so,
but you got to have all the fun in London when you caught the COVID. I didn't get that.
yeah, so I buggered off to London, went to see one of my favourite bands, Madball, playing in a venue that I've never been to, the New Cross Inn. If you're into UK hardcore and you watch stuff on YouTube, you'll have seen videos from New Cross Inn, so it was cool to actually get to go there. It was even nastier than I expected it to be. Fucking £6.90 pints though.
What?
Well, here's the thing, right? So I was in a rush because I was working in Cambridge, and then I had to rush down to London, get checked into the hotel, get across to the other side of London for the gig. And I thought the gig started at 7, and I got an alert on my phone going, it's only at 5 o'clock, it's only an hour till the gig. And I'm like, fuck me. So I had no time for food, and I rushed down, and I got there, and I was asking people, like, has any bands played yet? And it's like, they kind of looked at me as if, no, it's only 6:30. Of course no bands have played. It's like, right, okay. It's like, right, I haven't eaten, but I'll get myself a pint. Went and got a beer, £6.90. Be fucking hell. But I always say this: beer's like petrol. You don't drive into the garage and go, oh fuck, that's too expensive, I'll not get any of the day. You know, you just fucking pay it.
Yeah.
So I'd like 5 pints, and I made a point. I knew because it was on an empty stomach, right? I got like these session IPAs that were like 4.3%. It was like, if I drink a load of heavy beers, I'm going to end up steaming, and I'm in London on my own, so gotta try and have a wee bit of a sense of that. So with 4 pints of this stuff, £6.90 a pint, and at the end of the night, it was like, I'll try something different. If another beer there, £5.20. So it wasn't that all the beers were really fucking expensive. So
you
but it's
were
like,
ordering the
like
wrong ones.
I've always said, like, bars aren't sweet shops. You can't go in and go, much is that one? Much is that one? You know? Except for the good craft bars who actually have it all chalkboarded up. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, really, really good gig. King Street. Was it Cobbler you called the band? I can't remember the second band, but really sort of like London punky stuff. Don't give a fuck. Slag the fuck out of the crowd, like, for being like, they were like, this is a mad ball show, so 70% of the people here only go out twice a year anyway. You know, got to see Ironed Out, who have been wanting to see for a while. Really, really good UK hardcore band with like a wee bit of grime to them. And then Mad Ball were brilliant as always. It was kind of like an off-tour gig, so they were on tour with someone else. Did a free night, so they came down and played London, and I knew for a fact every time they do that, they don't stick to all the hits. You know, they play a wee bit lesser known tunes and stuff. Still a brilliant gig though, loved it. And the following night was a tour that hit Dublin around the same time. So it was Dying Fetus, Nasty, Cabal, and Frozen Soul. Frozen Soul were pretty good. Cabal really disappointed me, really unimpressed. Sort of like modern metalcore stuff. Found it quite boring, if I'm honest. Nasty was incredible. I just pitted for the entire time and went nuts. And then afterwards, like, it was just caked in sweat after Nasty, so it was just like, ended up doing Jager bombs and drinking beers at the bar and watching Dan Fetus. But the pits for Dan Fetus, like, I normally take the piss out of like push pits these days. It's like, oh lads, come on, give it a bit of Wally. Even the push pits at Dan Fetus were brutal. Like, they were going really hard. It was a good gig, good venue. So
really got it to miss that.
That was a cracker. If that tour came through here again, I would have made the effort to go to the Dublin gig, because whenever I seen the Dublin lineup, it was like, really want to see Nasty, but I'm just not fussing the rest of it. But no, it was brilliant.
Because you abandoned me,
Really
I
good
didn't want to go down on my own.
So, yeah, amongst all that fun, I got COVID, and I missed. What did I miss?
Metal to the Masses, Worn Out, and Raven Light.
Yes, got a Dave missed Worn Out and Harbinger gig. You guys were at that? Yes, Mark?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that was it was good to have the Worn Out boys up again, and you know, Trench Knife there playing too. A band I don't think I'd seen before. I don't remember seeing them before, and like they were a lot of fun. They were good, and sort of like a self-deprecating way, sort of like slagging themselves off. Right. You know, we're just you know, a load of guys from Limerick, you know, or whatever it is, and you know, but they were good. Worn Out, phenomenal as always. That's just fucking, they're just so good at what they're out there doing. And then Harbinger, I was just like, I was blown away by the vocals, and like a really fucking just heavy as fuck. Do you know? I just kind of find it real hard to get animated if I'm not in the pints. Do you know what I mean? But like, I really enjoyed that one, and a bunch of nice fellas too. So, yeah. You know, Thursday night gig, you know, these Thursday night gigs sort of don't tend to be that well attended, you know, and like I don't know, I think they got a good they got a decent enough turnout, you know. It wasn't a waste of time for them, you know, but it felt like a warm-up gig for the, you know, the weekend of shenanigans.
I was saying that to someone whenever I seen it. Someone mentioned to me that it didn't necessarily have the best turnout in the world, and I was kind of thinking, just a wee bit worried that, I know that tour line seems to be becoming quite popular, that Belfast, Dublin, Limerick, Cork. If you come up to Belfast on the Thursday, I hope bands just keep in mind that you've done Belfast on the Thursday, you might have got a low turnout because it was a Thursday and not because it was Belfast, you know. I'm worried that Belfast will get slapped off these tour lineups because people didn't come out on a Thursday night, but that's just part and parcel of...
Yeah.
I mean, played Cork on a Thursday, you might not have got.
If we could somehow warp time and have a 4-day weekend, and the bands could just do weekend sets the whole way, that'd be fantastic. But that's just not the reality of it, is it?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, and like I do completely agree with Phil. Every single band that played were amazing. Like, it was good to see Trench Knife. Their vocalist was insane. The drummer, like, they're all class. Worn Out, always amazing. Is it Alex, the guitarist?
Yes.
My eyes were just glued to that guy's hands. Like, his riffing, oh Jesus. Harbinger were phenomenal. But, you know, there's low turnout, and I think it was okay. You know, it wasn't bad turnout, but it was, as you know, Phil was saying, there wasn't much animation in the crowd. You know, and again, I'll never dictate how anyone do petty gig, do what you want. But I saw some videos and photos of the other gigs I was just like, I would have went down to Dublin to be in that crowd, you know. So yeah, but again, it was a great night. I enjoyed it. So like, not anything bad to say, but there was a point when Harbinger's frontman, you know, a bit of movement there, you know, as everyone does. But then he jumped into the crowd to try and start a mosh pit himself.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't happening.
Oh,
No.
You know, but it, you know, that happens sometimes. It's not the end of the world. But for them to compare that night to the Dublin, to the Limerick, you know, those crowds.
Yeah.
And it's like, yes, it's a Thursday, but is that the reason? I think it's a big part of it. Like,
I think it's one of those things, like, I mean, I hadn't heard of Harbinger prior to this tour, so to go and see them would have been taking a punt on them. So you're not just, do you know what I mean? Sometimes a band has to come through town a few times.
yeah.
They come once, 5 or 6 people are blown away by it. They tell all their mates, next time Harbinger come, you have to go see them. Next time they come, 20 people come. Next time 50 people come, and it build up. Like, I think that's what happened. A perfect example of a band that done that would have been Bob Villain.
Yeah.
I was going to say Malevolence.
Sorry?
I was going to say Malevolence as well.
Yes, another perfect example. Those guys are coming through. Well, I don't think Malevolence have ever played to a small crowd in here, but I know.
Did you remember Voodoo? We went and there was maybe 30 people in it.
No, it was a good crowd in Friday. I struggled to find moshing room. But Bob Villain, yeah, played the Deer's Head, and as far as I know, it wasn't that busy, but it got tongues
It's sold
wagging.
out.
Got people. Oh, the Deer's Head one.
Deer's Head was sold out.
Right,
Yeah,
okay.
as well sold
I'm
out.
wrong about that one then.
Yeah, no, they sold that out, and then they sold out the Empire as well.
Yeah.
And like, you know, they're definitely coming up. Frank Carter done the same thing as well. Like,
Yeah.
but he done this weird thing where he went from playing Voodoo to the OES Centre.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Centre's definitely bigger capacity than Voodoo, isn't it?
Yeah,
I
it's
wouldn't
also
say so,
over
but-
14.
I wouldn't say so. Like,
No?
I wouldn't have said so. No. But
It's
because
like
like
you
that
know, it's-
real low ceiling and all, and like no drink at it and the whole lot. That don't like the OES, to be honest, but yeah, he done that, and then I think he played. I want to say he played one of the last gigs in the Mandela as well. I think it was the second to last, if not the last gig in the Mandela Hall, the old one.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it takes a bit of a time to warm up, and I think I would absolutely recommend, you know, going, if Harbinger are stopping by you, you know, go and see them, because like that style of vocal that's become real popular, that sort of Will Ramos,
The goblin
you know,
squeals.
goblin vocals, you know, whatever, like, you know, he's very fucking good at it.
Yeah, he was.
He's very good at it. Even their merch guy was good at it. Their merch,
that's right, yeah.
their merch guy came up on stage, like, and done a song, and I was like, "Oh, merch guy's a better vocalist than like 90% of Belfast scene."
The other gig that I missed then was
Raven Night and
Raven Light's album launch,
Yeah.
which had been pushed back I don't know how many times. It was sorry, am I right in saying that?
no, that was the last one. I think, you know, I think it was the last year's February gig. It got pushed back quite a lot because it was meant to take place in 2020, I think.
Right.
And it was one of the ones that got canned.
So
For
just
Project Genesis, I think it was
straight up album launch party then, and I believe support was Gravity Well and
Backen.
Backen. Yeah, good gig.
yeah. I think I'm the only one that was at it,
Yeah.
but because you had COVID and what have you, so yeah, I had a great night. Gravity Well were fantastic. I think their band. I enjoy watching them every single time. But then just Raven Light, I was so impressed. You know, the new bassist there, and I haven't seen. I'll confess, I haven't seen Raven Light in a very, very long time. You know, it is pre-COVID that I haven't seen them. It missed them last year. It's actually a year to the day that it was nearly a year to the day that they last played Belfast. So they came, and I just was so impressed with just the stagecraft, and sort of like, I'm really impressed by Rebecca as a front person. She's just so good, and so comfortable on stage. Bit of banter back and forth with the crowd, and just looks at ease, and everybody's up there really enjoying themselves. The new bassist as well, I think, is, you know, good bit of animation from him, and I think it's always been a thing that, you know, has, you know, I don't want to say any of the bassists they've had before haven't been good, because, well, we know a few of them and stuff, but I think that this guy seems to be a really good fit.
Yeah.
And
I've seen guys called Dean. I've seen him play with Dunham Dye and I think Celine as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if he still does it, but he would have his bass slung very, very low.
and he'd be on the floor.
Yeah.
I have a couple of photos
And
on
then,
my phone, and he's not in them because he's below the because he's below where I was taking the photo, you know. But they got such a good turnout, and it was amazing to see just like the level of turnout that they got. Like the limelight was busy, and I think there was a good feel about that gig, certainly. So yeah, well, hats off to them. They played a blinder.
Nice one.
Rage
Nice
I missed it actually.
Another gig we missed was the Nematis launch.
There was the Nematis album launch. You were you were both at that, yeah.
Well, that weekend I was at 4 gigs in 2 days.
Nice.
So I was at a gig, a Gary Moore tribute with like Speedo on guitar over in the Deer's Head, and I had to just say to my mate, like, I'll see you in a bit. I have to catch this no matter set. Like, I can't not do it. So I literally just ran from the Deer's Head to Voodoo, straight up the front, and it was spectacular. Like, genuinely. There was just a moment where they were playing it, I was just like, they have made it. Like, they are up there. It was amazing. Utterly amazing.
I kind of feel like there used to be a point in time with the local scene where you had, like, in my head, this collection of, like, top tier bands.
The Elites or something.
Yeah. And it feels like I don't have that in my head anymore. I don't have that little diagram up there with these bands go in there. Nomadis would be one of them, though. Yeah, I really, really feel like they're a band that they don't disappoint anymore. And as I think I said on the last podcast, I think it comes down to them playing live so much. As critical as I was of them playing so much, I think they've just completely crafted their live set,
Yeah.
Gotta Dave missed that one as well. I think that was couldn't get on call covered for work.
Yeah.
So
I think there's
too many fucking commitments.
There's been a few actually. So I think there's been a few gigs this month of bands that have played longer sets. So Nomadis' album launch, Raven Light's album launch, and Acid Age's 10th anniversary, which they played an hour and 3/4, like that, and it didn't feel like an hour and 3/4 in any way, shape or form. It was like giving these bands something that are outside of like a 30-minute set, 40-minute set, like they can fill it, and did Nomadis do a really good job, like just playing through the album, and it was a really good night, and they got such a good turnout. I think there's 150 odd people, I think, at that, and I can't remember, but I have a feeling, can't remember the stat. There's a stat. They outsold somebody who you guys went and seen in the Limelight too. That recently, I think they sold 150 odd tickets. Evile, yeah, I think they had a better turnout than Evile.
Ooh.
I think.
Well, the one thing about that, Evile was a Sunday, so like we were saying about the Wednesday and Thursday night gigs, that might have been a factor, but regardless, that's class. Fair play to the lads.
I sometimes wonder if I think the low turnout for that Evile gig might have been, that whole, it's not the original lineup, I'm not going to see them. I think that might have played into that a wee bit.
I was almost in that category, but I'm glad I went because they were amazing. Like,
you touched on that Acid Age 10th anniversary show. Another one that I missed.
You were in London.
I was in London for that. An hour and 45 minutes, mate.
at those speeds.
That's unprecedented. I can't name. I've been going to local gigs since around 2005, 2006, which is.
Don't do the
Christ.
Don't do it.
And I know there's people in the scene hanging about a lot longer than I have. Never have I heard of a single local band playing a set that long. I couldn't name you one.
There's very few probably would have had enough to be able to do a set that long.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen a local band do more than an hour. Maybe a Crawl or maybe done an hour 15 or something like that at their Bloodstock set, possibly. I don't think it even was. I think it was about an hour. But yeah, that's insane. That is insane, especially
some real deep cuts in there.
Those guys play.
Yeah.
Like just the other night at the Metal of the Masses Heat 3, I was watching Jude's Fingers that sounds a wee bit dodgy, but we'll just keep moving on. Um, his fingers are like spider legs the way they move, and Jake as well. See, and actually we mentioned Jude this time. You do exist.
I think if I could play guitar if I could play guitar like anyone, it would be like Jude, because I love like the wee bluesiness that he has to like he just it's fucking effortless whenever he's playing. It's like you just go and you as a person that's tried to learn guitar multiple times and you just go, stop it.
Yeah, I do think about that sometimes, how like we would sit here and go, this band, I don't know, they're not that great and stuff, and it's like, if you put a guitar in my hands, it's easy. Like, go watch Ratatouille. It's so easy to fucking criticize something, but the actual go and do it is a completely different ballgame.
See, just on acid, it's like the last 3 times I've seen them, so Metal of the Masses, that anniversary show, and Evil. I've noticed that I haven't been headbanging as much because I am in just that phase of like watching and appreciating and being blown away. And it's like just all 3 of them have just perfected their instruments. They're just like, Jude doesn't even need to use a fucking pick anymore. All that he's just doing with his fingers, and it's like, Mark Knopfler would be proud of that, and it's just insane. No one's writing songs like them, no one's playing like them. Like, it's phenomenal. I just love
so
them.
polished.
Yeah,
it is so professional.
It's polished despite being absolute madness at the points as well. Like, it's
Definitely.
like, you've somehow managed to polish up something that is completely insane.
Okay, I'm going to pull things all the way back, because there was one Metal to the Masses band that I wanted to talk about, which we forgot to mention, and that's Vonstrosity, because we were all quite excited about seeing Vonstrosity. I'll say all of us. I know why I was.
I genuinely, that EP I have listened to more than any other release this year so far. Like, genuinely, that EP I love.
So Vonstrosity played on Heat 3, and
Bless.
things didn't go well. Things didn't go well at all.
To be clear, I had a blast. I
was
blew
fun.
my voice out. I had a fuck ton of fun.
I smiled.
But it wasn't
I
good.
smiled during Vonstrosity's set more than I did for all the other bands combined that I've seen this year. You know what I mean? Despite things not going well,
say, see if I die in like the next little wee while, if I get hit by a bus, I want that at my funeral. And I don't actually want it to improve. I want it to be that level of shit show.
Right.
I think that would be.
Do I have to be the one that explains to your family why this music's being played
Yes.
at that specific point in time?
Direct them to this. It's fine.
Sympathy. So things that went wrong during the set. The laptop that was meant to play the backing track didn't play it at certain times. I think there was points where both guitars weren't coming through. I think the gaps between songs, because the whole backing track was played as a single track, and then the gaps between songs, I think sometimes
They had to wait for
a
the
bit long.
timing to come in.
So
Yeah.
it was like,
It was I can't
Just
remember how
chatting.
long this gap's going to be, so I'm just going to.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go, we're off.
the thing is, like, see if that was me, if I was on stage and all that was happening, I would have had a mental breakdown. I probably would have just, see, after like 2 or 3 problems, I'd have probably just said pause and went, look, I'm sorry, I'm done, I fucked up, I'm away. Not only did Rory keep going, he kept going with a smile and a laugh. He kept banter throughout the whole of it, and that was as entertaining as anything.
Yeah.
Well, he did
You
say
know?
beforehand that if it was a shit show, at least it would be funny.
Yes,
So, and I mean,
it was.
It
yeah.
was.
So yeah, it all went horribly badly, but it was fun and entertainment.
I think there's a lot of potential.
To cast a more critical eye over it, I think, see, the backing track they had seemed to be like the guts of the song, because it's this party metal, which I think, Phil, you best compared it to Electric Callboys, big silly songs that they've been putting out. It also reminds me of some early Enter Shikari stuff. I imagine, from what I heard and from what I seen, that the sound guy was struggling to control the levels of everything, because you've got the backing track, which is so much of a song, but he can't control the drums, he can't control
The individual
synths
levels.
and the individual levels. He's just got this one flat song, and then there's the guitars and stuff. I don't know if there's a way around that because I'm not technically minded.
Full band.
Yeah.
Full
Well,
band.
full band's easier said.
I know, yeah, true.
But I get what you mean. I 100% agree with you, Claire. There is so much potential in what he's doing. Like the ravey bits to me, like if you go to a rave, the first and foremost most important thing is a good solid kick drum all night long. And those songs, I couldn't hear the kick.
Yeah,
there wasn't that
needed
big
it needed
fucking-
thump. You know,
like I'm into a lot of dance music, and the thing about it is you go to this, and when you've got that big heavy rhythm, right, if it's really really good music in a really really good club, you don't choose to dance, you just find yourself dancing, right?
Yeah.
And that's what should be happening whenever he's playing these songs. And we just it didn't land. We didn't get that.
it needs more donk.
It needs more donk, a bit more donk.
Got more donk in there, like yeah.
And I
There's
think,
a wee part, like, see if I was more musically inclined and stuff, I think I'd be giving him a shout and going, can I get in on this? Because I think I could steer you in the right direction.
Yeah.
I think for me, what would be a big benefit is, I mean, it's party metal, and I think that means, and I know that he's a guitarist and that's his thing. I think for this, he needs, because he was trying to do guitar, do his clean vocals, do his growling, manage the laptop, fixing everything else, and he was overwhelmed. And he wasn't able to then bring the party as such. So I think he gets rid of the guitar, he does the synths, and then maybe, I'm not, but I imagine then you could maybe, if he's on the laptop, have everything on the different channels, work that a bit better, and then just be all about sort of the banter, bring the party,
Yeah.
have more fun, and try to build the band around it. And that's what I want.
I said this earlier before we started recording. No one else is doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a little gap there for you, you know, and I think he's the perfect person to fill it. I would love to see. I would be so happy to see that kind of blossom.
Yeah.
Because I think, like in the last song, he sort of abandoned the guitar, and in future, take the mic out of the mic stand. That got a wee bit awkward. But you know, then he was like sort of just singing more and like performing more, and there was so much more energy suddenly brought into it. And that's,
Yeah.
if you think about it, you know, if you're talking party metal, you think about things like Andrew WK or Kid Rock, or you know, that's the presence on stage, and that's what we want out of him. You can do it. I know you
Shall
can.
we take a very brief break and then we'll come back and talk about releases and what's coming up next month?
Yep.
Yeah.
Superb. Alright, so the hangovers are kicking in now.
Yeah. Only for me, I think.
Very briefly, I don't know of a whole lot of releases that came out this month. Don't know if you guys have checked anything out.
I just listened to Monstrosity.
I know of 3 singles. First one being, and forgive me for checking my notes here, because my memory sucks balls. Two Tales of Woe, band that I used to love a long time ago. They used to play with the likes of Triggerman and stuff in the Limelight whenever we had the Rock Day gigs. They put out a single called Dark Side of Life. You guys, no one's listened to it, am I right?
I
saying
listened
that?
to it,
Listened
yeah,
to it,
yeah.
Give it a go.
yeah.
Yeah.
First time I listened to it on a speaker that I've got upstairs, and I thought the vocals didn't sound right. It almost sounded like the song and the vocals were playing on separate speakers, and I listened to it on a few other things and it sounded way better. I actually really like it now that I've heard it a few times. It's doomy stoner metal.
Yeah, it's like in the ilk of Crowbar, really, in it.
Yeah.
Very much rooted there.
Really keen to see those guys play live again.
It's been a long time actually since they've come, because like I think the last time that I can certainly remember them being on a bill, it was probably the first Crypt of the Riff.
Okay, was that in Voodoo?
No, it was in. I think
Was
the
it the
first.
SU?
I think the first Crypt was in the SU. Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
okay. Don't remember that. The last time I seen them was in the Limelight a lot of years ago. I think it might have been like 2018 or something like that.
I'm not sure I've seen them since Bloodstock. The year they played Bloodstock.
Fuck, right enough. I forgot
I've
about
not
that.
seen them at all.
Forgot about that. Yeah, I think they've had big lineup changes over the years. Hopefully, the lads are kind of locked in now and they can start recording, start playing shows and stuff. Great band. Played some good sports slots and stuff over the years. I think they played with Crowbar down in Dublin.
It's a nice fit.
keen to see them again. Another single came out, Grey Stag. I know Mark, big fan of Grey Stag. I think we all are.
Yeah.
I joked earlier, can you put a round tree fruit pasta in your mouth without chewing? Can you talk about Grey Stag without mentioning Mastodon?
I mean, you brought Mastodon up already earlier, so
I can't. The new single out, even in the title makes me think Mastodon. It's called
Steadfast Leviathan.
Steadfast
Yeah, I know
Leviathan,
what you mean.
Yeah, I think it's really fucking good. As I say, the Mastodon vibes are there, thick and heavy, but it's still an absolute ripper of a track. I really, really like it.
they're playing soon, aren't they?
They are. They've got a
album launch coming actually in March.
23rd, I think.
Yeah, 20. I think again a Thursday night. But look here, there's no chance I'm not going to that. You
Exactly.
know what I mean?
I've listened to the album.
I think there's
okay. Have we got a sneaky peeky?
I got sent
TWKOM
it.
exclusive?
I listened last night. I'm saying nothing.
Oh, right, okay.
You're such a tease.
I mean, it's not going to be shit anyway.
The single's fantastic. Obviously, go listen to it if you haven't.
Yeah.
But I'm saying nothing.
Fair play.
He's signed on the podcast.
You can't just be like, "I here, I've got news, but I'm not telling you." That's like saying I've got some real juicy gossip, and then you're like, "Oh, what is it?"
Well, it's an album. There's songs on it. Vocals, drums, guitar, bass.
Yeah.
Is it good?
I'm saying nothing.
Does it sound like Mastodon?
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Like, genuinely, I'm not. Yeah, well, I can't wait to go listen to it again tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
No, good stuff. Yeah.
Last track was one I only give it a quick listen if I'm completely honest. It's a band called Nebularis. I'm pretty sure I've got that right, and the track's called Cataclysm. It is Mo Sheeran is playing guitars for them, who was in Witch Kicker and I think a couple of other projects, but it's Witch Kicker that I would know her most from. It's got a very sort of late 90s, early 2000s vibe to it, very sort of melodic metal. Probably worth checking out if that's your sort of thing. But that's, in terms of releases, that's all I know about. I'll say this again, if you're releasing tracks, let us know and we'll try and cover them as best we can. Sometimes I'm just a bit shit keeping up with that, I admit that. Actually, it's not me, it's the band's fault. You just don't publish enough. So let's move on then.
Well, just speaking of, there are a few might be coming out this year or that are being worked on and stuff, like Draconis are working on new material. I think the Crawling are starting writing their third album, and the big one for me is Carcosa. Like, when is that coming out? Like, I need that.
Awesome.
But yeah. Is
So,
there anything else that's coming out?
I know
this
that
year?
there's a band that I will talk about. In fact, let's just talk about them now. They're playing a gig next month, a band called Nyalanth. I'm pretty sure I've got that right. It is ex-members of Death of a Salesman and By Conquest or Consent.
That's a lot of pedigree right there.
Death of a Salesman are a band that I admit for most of their time playing Belfast I was a bit lukewarm on. The stuff they were putting out towards the end of their existence I started to really like, and then By Conquest or Consent are a band that I just loved. I think, Claire, you were a big fan of them as well. Just some really, really good material put out there. It was Pete Renshaw, who would be vocalist for, I was going to say all the bands.
Oh well, true. All the bands, yeah.
Currently singing for
Delusional Silence.
Kikidos, I think, they're still there, they still exist. He sings for Delusional Silence as well, and he's the frontman for Nyalanth, if I hope I'm pronouncing that right. So I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be a big one
Aiden's
for me.
in it as well.
Yeah.
Aiden?
Yeah. Yes.
He's always brilliant.
They have a great lineup. I wouldn't actually mind trying to get a few of them together for a bit of a chat for the podcast if we could. Hopefully planning to branch out stuff like that. But
When's the show they're doing with Archives?
It's a show. It's them, Archives, and
Asphyxiation.
and I can't remember off the top of my head when that is.
It's the
but
25th, I think, of March.
Of
That's
March.
the 25th of March.
Yeah, I think it's the Saturday after that Grey Stag.
Oh,
gig.
so Grey Stag on the Thursday, Resident Evil 2 remake on the Friday, and then Archives on the Saturday. That's gonna be a
and
good
that
weekend.
Friday's also Metal to the Masses Heat 6. So,
Resident Evil no, joking.
sorry, Heat 5. Sorry, forgive me. Heat 5. Yep, so other things coming up in March. We have, well, I've got Snoop Dogg, and I'm really looking forward to Snoop Dogg. He's got a hell of an entourage of support with him as well. D12, Nate Dogg. Someone told me there's a local act actually have got support on it as well, which is quite surprising to me for a big show like that.
Yeah, that's good.
Looking forward to it. Seen Snoop Dogg only once before, I think, to the best of my memory. Yeah,
I
seen him at.
Contemplated going, but I'll let you and your mates have a wee night out without me.
I
tagging
think it
along.
may be sold out anyway.
Probably.
So it's another one of those
It's been rescheduled a lot of times.
COVID gigs. It's been pushed back and pushed
Is it a
back.
full arena or is it a half? Like,
No, it'll be a full arena for Snoop Dogg.
What?
100%, absolutely.
I mean, it's
that dude's
Belfast
a
after all.
fucking legend, mate.
yeah,
I know a lot of people going who wouldn't go to maybe a lot of gigs,
yeah, okay.
Uh-huh.
fair enough.
but yeah.
Oh, I'll definitely be going. And it won't be a like, I'll go down and check it out. That's going to be on the rip, like. Belter night.
I'd be taxi driver then, get you back home,
If-
scrape you off a pavement from somewhere.
Hell yes. There's one night where there's 3 gigs on, which is a pain in the box because they're all 3 gigs that I would have attended. One of them is a band called Nova Twins in the
OES
Centre. Yep. Kind of.
It's an early gig.
It's an early gig, so I'm hoping to catch one of the other ones afterwards. But Nova Twins, I will definitely be going to.
And because it's the 16th of March, so I'm off work the following day for
Oh,
St. Paddy's Day.
So yeah,
So it
go on
means-
the rip for that.
Drink.
Nova Twins are kind of like it's 2 black girls that kind of play fuzz rock with a lot of attitude and swagger. Really, really like them. Called them at Boomtown twice. I
now?
don't think
Yeah.
I've seen them outside of that, so it'll be good to see them at their own gig. Also that night we've got Carcass coming to town, but to me the biggest appeal of that gig, I'm pretty sure it's in Limelight 1.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
The biggest appeal of that gig, because I'm not massively into Carcass. I've seen them a couple of times. One time they bored me, another time thought they were very good. It's getting to see Stranglewire and the Crawling together. I don't think I've
In
seen
Limelight
those.
One.
Me neither.
I don't think I've seen those guys play a gig on the same bill. And obviously, with Pete and Andy being brothers in each band. There's just something really interesting about that to me.
Yeah.
And getting to see them play a bigger stage. I think Stranglewire especially, because we've seen the Crawling play Bloodstock on a big stage with the Pyrotechnics. Seeing Stranglewire on a bigger stage would be fucking awesome, I think.
In terms of that gig,
Unfortunately,
go ahead.
I'll have to miss that one. But if we've got representation at it, then we can all discuss it at the next one.
I was on the fence. I had a friend of mine just texting me like maybe once a week saying go to Carcass, go to Carcass, go to Carcass. And then one day I saw a poster with those 2 supports and
Yeah.
I just bought the ticket.
Absolutely.
Immediately.
How much are tickets for that? Is it?
I think they were around 30 or something like that, so not too bad at all.
That's quite reasonable.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, I would pay that for the Crawling and Stranglewire together easy.
without a
So
doubt.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's it's the 2 best, pretty much the 2 best bands that we've got.
Yeah.
Supporting one of the most sort of influential bands.
And they're bands
Like,
that don't
and-
play Belfast often either.
Yeah, and they don't play Belfast, and again, big stage. Like, I haven't bought a ticket yet, and I'm still sort of, because I'm trying to be in London that week because I want to try and check out Get the Shot the night before.
Bastard.
So I'm trying to work that one, but then I'll come back and I'll know we'll probably end up at it.
And is that Get the Shot? Is that the new cross end?
It's a New Cross, yeah.
Mate, that'll be a fucking bloodbath.
Yeah.
In the best
God
kind of
damn.
way.
God damn. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish there was, because I was saying about this recently. Cheap weekends away just don't seem to exist anymore. Hotel prices are fucking
It's
savage.
ridiculous.
And flights and all are brutal.
So otherwise, I would have tried to slide over for that one.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Get the Shot. Brilliant band. So that night where you've got Carcass in the Limelight, you've got Nova Twins in the OES Centre, You've also got, now I don't know what the fuck this is about, a Jude Fest in the
Voodoo.
in Voodoo.
Yeah.
So another gigstable, is that what we call it? But I mean, it's three bands playing, so I don't know why it's
There's
called a
3 or
Jude
4.
Fest.
There's 3 or 4.
Is there maybe more to announce or something?
I don't know.
Embrace Execution's on there, isn't there?
Yeah.
Embrace Execution are the headliner, and so I'm hoping that if that gig's run a wee bit late and the OES Centre's an early one, we can get round for Embrace Execution and throw some fists, because that'll be a good show.
Yeah.
Definitely. What else? I think there's a few more things. There's obviously more Metal to the Masses gigs lined up. We'll be covering those. And I think the last thing I want to mention is that Henry Rollins has come to town for a spoken word show. If that isn't sold out and there's
It
tickets
is sold
left,
out.
is it sold out?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad we got tickets for that then. Incredibly interesting guy. Always has great stories to tell. I actually got into Henry Rollins not through Black Flag, but through what do you call it? He does like a compilation of spoken word albums that he put out. Can't remember what they're called. I think it's just called Talking Shit or something like that.
We've seen it at Sonosphere, haven't we?
I've seen him at Sonosphere as well. Yeah. I could sit and listen to Henry Rollins for 6 or 7 hours straight. That'll be a brilliant night. But as you say, if it's sold out, if you've missed it, you've missed it.
Yeah.
So I think that's us. Unless there's anything else anyone wants to cover.
What about the Siege announcements? What's everyone's thoughts on that?
I've said before that Siege, for me, really need to pull something out of the bag in order for me to get a train to Dublin and then a train from Dublin down to Cork. Because that is
Limerick.
just...
You know,
sorry,
Siege
I
of
always
Limerick.
fucking say
It's
that.
in Limerick.
Dumbest cunt. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to get down there. In terms of the trains are expensive. I even looked at, because I took a punt on when would Siege be in, not this one coming up, not the Easter
The
one, but
Halloween.
the Halloween one, because I've got some friends and bands that are trying to get to play that. So I even looked at hotel prices for then, thinking, if we'll book, 9 months in advance, we'll get a good wee deal. You're still looking £250 for 2 nights in Limerick.
Yeah.
Everything is just fucking expensive at the minute, and it's really hard to justify. So to get down to Siege again, they would need to book someone that I would really, really want to see. You want to go down because I've seen the Archives are playing, and I think a few other Belfast bands are playing. And you want to go down, you want to support the lads and stuff. It's too hard to justify.
Especially if you're looking at paying those prices to go down for 2 days, whereas the next week they could be playing Voodoo or Limelight or something like that.
Exactly.
And
exactly that.
it's great. I love what Siege do. They're showcasing the best of Irish metal and all that stuff. The problem is if you're doing 2 events a year, there are gonna be some weaker. There's only so many bands to go around.
That's true.
And if you're trying to avoid repeats and stuff, there are just, and it's not even weaker, it's just there's probably going to be lineups that don't appeal to my tastes as much. There's a lot of metal that's good, it's just not really my bag.
They don't need people coming down from Belfast anyway to justify its existence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a local festival for local people, so they don't necessarily need us. But for me, it's like you're looking at the similar expenses as going to England or Scotland. So
Go to Europe.
to me, for someone like me, from my perspective, they are competing with Damnation Festival or Desert Fest or
Like Break Even or something like that,
yeah, that money spent on getting down there could get me over to England for something where you've got like a lot of touring bands and stuff,
Yeah.
and it's just it is what it is.
That's
I'm
a
sure
fair point.
I'm sure I will get back to Siege at some stage. They'll book the right bands and the stars will align, and we'll get down there and maybe try and I've talked before, I wouldn't mind actually seeing a wee bit more of Ireland, so if there was a year where we weren't going away, we would maybe go down and spend a couple of days in Cork, a couple of days in Limerick, get down to, I've been told Dingle's just like the weirdest place in Ireland, so
It sounds
I kind of want to get down and see that place. So I'm sure I'll be back. I'm sure we'll be back to Siege. But from what I've seen of the lineup for the Easter one, I'm not chomping at the bit to get down there.
Yeah.
Right. in that case, I think we'll wrap it up. We've got lots to look forward to in March, so we'll be back at the end of March to discuss how the month went. Anyone wants to come on here, give us a shout. If you've got singles, EPs, albums that you're releasing, let us know and we'll try and cover that. And otherwise, we'll see you at gigs across March. And as always, keep listening to the wrong kind of music.